A cop knocked on my door and said my wife died an hour ago, but she was sleeping upstairs. When I showed him, he pulled his gun and whispered, "Sir, that's not your wife." I was covered in dust and sweat, moving boxes in the garage when I heard the knock. Heavy, deliberate. The kind of knock that tells you it isn't a neighbor or a salesman. When I opened the door, a uniformed officer stood there. His face was pale and his voice carried the weight of tragedy. "Sir," he said, steady but hesitant, "I regret to inform you that your wife Emily was killed in a fatal car accident about an hour ago." The words hit me like a steel beam to the chest. My first reaction wasn't grief. It was disbelief. Raw and sharp. "That's impossible." I shot back. "Emily's upstairs. She's asleep. She came home hours ago." The officer's brow furrowed and I caught a flicker of doubt in his eyes. He studied me like he was weighing whether I was in shock or lying. "I'm telling you the truth," I insisted, already motioning for him to follow me. "Come with me. You'll see." I led him up the stairs, my heart pounding so violently I could hear it in my ears. Every step felt heavier, like I was dragging chains. When I pushed open the bedroom door, there she was, Emily, curled beneath the covers, her dark hair spilling across the pillow. Peaceful, breathing, alive. I turned to the officer with a triumphant sort of rage. "You see, she's right here." But what happened next froze me to the marrow. His hand darted to his holster. In one swift motion, he drew his weapon and aimed it directly at my wife. "Sir, step away from her," he barked. His voice was firm, trembling only at the edges. "That isn't your wife." For a moment, the world lost its shape. I staggered back, staring at Emily. No, at the woman in my bed. Because suddenly, under the officer's tone, her sleeping face seemed off. Almost like I was seeing her for the first time. "What the hell do you mean?" I shouted. My voice cracked between fear and fury. "That's Emily. That's my wife." The woman stirred. Her eyes flickered open, slow and hazy. And when she looked at me, I swear a shiver ran down my spine. There was no warmth, no recognition, just a flat, cold glare that didn't belong to the woman I'd married. "Mark," she whispered, her lips curling into a faint smile. "What's going on?" The officer's gun stayed trained on her. He didn't lower it, not even an inch. "Sir," he repeated, voice sharp, "you need to step away. We identified your wife, Emily Carter, dead at the scene of a crash. The body was confirmed. Whoever this woman is, she isn't your wife." I felt like I was falling through the floor. My mind scrambled for logic, for sense. None came. I looked back at her, the woman I'd kissed goodnight, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone. And then, like a crack in a dam, it all began to pour out. Those late-night excuses, the sudden phone call she would take in the kitchen, the secretive smiles when she thought I wasn't watching. The weeks of her lying straight to my face about girls' nights and working late. I had brushed it off, told myself not to overthink. But now, staring into those unfamiliar eyes, every ignored red flag screamed at me. "Emily," I whispered, though my throat was dry, my voice breaking on the name. She tilted her head and her smile widened, sharp and mocking. "You always were too easy to fool, Mark." The officer's jaw tightened. "Sir, I need you to leave the room right now." But I couldn't move. My body was locked between terror and fury. My wife, my Emily, was supposed to be dead. Yet here she was, alive, lying in our bed, smirking at me like I was the idiot in someone else's twisted game. And in that moment, I realized something that made my stomach knot. If she could lie about something as basic as where she was at night, then maybe this horrifying mess wasn't an accident. Maybe it was the culmination of all her deceit. Because whoever this woman was, she knew me. She knew my name. She knew the way I would doubt myself. The way I'd swallow her excuses. And now she was here in my bed, pretending to be the wife that the police swore was lying in a morgue. My heart raced, my vision blurred, but one thought burned clear. My wife hadn't just been cheating on me. She had been living an entirely different life. And whatever game she was playing, it had finally collided with mine in the most brutal way possible. The officer's finger hovered near the trigger, and my fists clenched at my sides. My world had been shattered in a single sentence, and nothing would ever be the same again. The officer's gun was steady, his eyes locked on her like he knew something I didn't, like he'd seen this nightmare before. I couldn't breathe. My own house felt foreign. My own bed corrupted. Emily, or whoever she was, sat up slowly, the blanket slipping from her shoulders. She didn't look scared, not even surprised. She looked amused. "Put that gun away," I snapped at the officer, my voice breaking with anger I couldn't contain. "That's my wife. She's right there. You must have made a mistake." But then she laughed. A sharp, hollow sound that cut into me deeper than the officer's words. Mark, stop embarrassing yourself. You always believe the first thing you hear, don't you? Always so desperate to think I'm yours. My blood went cold. That laugh wasn't Emily's. It was cruel, mocking, the laugh of someone who had been playing me for a fool. Ma'am, the officer barked. Don't move. Stay exactly where you are. She leaned back on the headboard like she owned the moment, like nothing about this was strange. Her eyes glimmered with something dark. You cops really don't know when to quit, do you? I turned to the officer, choking on my own words. What the hell is going on? You're telling me my wife is dead, but she's right here? What kind of sick game is this? The officer didn't answer. His hand was tense, his shoulders squared. He looked like he was prepared for the worst. My mind raced back through the last few months. Emily disappearing for hours with excuses that didn't add up. The smell of cologne on her clothes that wasn't mine. The way she started locking her phone, hiding it like it was more precious than me. I'd ignored it, convinced myself I was imagining things. But now, faced with this twisted reality, I realized the truth was far darker than a simple affair. I stepped closer, ignoring the officer's warning glare. Emily, I said again, my voice cracking. Tell me what the hell is happening. Where were you tonight? Why did they say you were dead? She smiled at me with lips I once kissed and whispered like it was nothing because Mark. I'm not the only Emily Carter you've been sleeping next to. The room spun. My knees weakened and I gripped the door frame just to stay upright. My brain couldn't process it. Not the words, not the venom in her voice. Was she admitting it? Was she telling me she had another life, another identity? Or was she mocking me with a truth I'd never be able to untangle? The officer's voice cut through my fog. Sir, back away now. But I couldn't. I stepped toward her again, desperate for answers. That's when I noticed it. Her phone half buried in the sheets. The screen lit up with a message before she could swipe it away. I caught a glimpse. Where are you? We need to talk before they find out. The name above it wasn't one I recognized. Derek. I froze while rising in my throat. My chest tightened and every nerve in my body screamed betrayal. Derek. Another man. Another secret. Another piece of the puzzle that had been hiding right in front of me. You lying witch. I spat. Rage finally spilling over. How long has this been going on? Who the hell is Derek? And what kind of sick double life are you living? Her eyes narrowed and for the first time I saw her drop the fake warmth completely. You really think you deserve the truth? After the pathetic way you've been living, you couldn't give me what I wanted, Mark? Derek did. He gave me more in one night than you ever could in this boring little house. The words sliced me open, each one a blade twisting deeper. My wife, the woman I thought I built a life with, didn't just cheat. She enjoyed tearing me apart. The officer's hand shook, his finger dangerously close to the trigger. Sir, I need you to get out of this room. She's not safe. But I didn't move. My whole world had collapsed in seconds, and I wasn't leaving without ripping the mask off the woman who had poisoned my life. The air grew heavy, suffocating. I could hear my pulse pounding in my ears. She didn't flinch. She didn't apologize. She leaned forward, her voice low, venomous. You thought you had a wife. What you really had was a cover story. And you were too blind to notice the truth staring you in the face. The officer raised his weapon higher, his jaw tight. And at that exact moment, I realized this wasn't just betrayal. This was something bigger, something lethal. And I wasn't sure I'd survive it. The officer's stance stiffened, and his voice boomed with authority, hands where I can see them. But she didn't comply. Instead, she slid off the bed slowly, like a predator toying with its prey. Her smirk never faded. She stood barefoot on the floor, eyes locked on me, not the officer. Mark, she whispered almost sweetly. You never once asked yourself why the late nights, why the secrets. You wanted to believe you were enough, but you weren't. You were just convenient. Something inside me snapped. My chest burned, my hands shook, and the only thing I could feel was the fire of betrayal. Convenient. I barked. I gave you everything. I worked myself to the bone for us, for this house, this life. And you crawl into someone else's bed and spit on everything we had. Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't deny it. That silence cut deeper than any word. The officer edged forward, gun still trained. Ma'am, don't take another step. But she did. Bold, defiant, like she knew the rules didn't apply to her. She grabbed her phone off the bed and held it up just enough for me to see the flood of unread messages. Derek's name appeared again and another one. Hurry, they're on to us. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just cheating. This wasn't just a fling. Something bigger was at play. Something dangerous. I lunged for the phone, desperate, irrational. She pulled back and the officer shouted, "Stop." His voice echoed through the room and for a second I thought he'd fire. She glared at me, her voice dripping venom. You really want the truth, Mark? You can't handle it. You never could. Derek isn't just some guy. He's everything you're not. Powerful, fearless, real. You're a ghost in your own house. The words tore into me like claws. My knees felt weak, my head buzzing with rage and humiliation. The woman I thought I loved was gone, replaced by this monster who seemed to enjoy grinding me into dust. The officer inched closer. Phone now. She hesitated, her grip tight, but then like she wanted to escalate, she tossed it across the room. It hit the wall and shattered into pieces. My only chance at answers smashed in seconds. You crazy? I started, but her hand shot out and shoved me back. Art. I stumbled into the dresser, rattling the lamp and knocking over a picture frame of us smiling on our wedding day. The glass cracked, splintering across the floor, just like the illusion of our life together. The officer barked again on the ground now. She didn't move. She laughed instead. That same hollow, poisonous laugh. Go ahead, arrest me. You think Derek won't come for me? For him? She jerked her head toward me with a cruel grin. He'll take care of everything. You're nothing but dead weight. Her words weren't just lies anymore. They were threats. And the officer knew it. His finger twitched near the trigger. His breathing heavy. I looked at her. Really looked at her and realized I didn't recognize a single piece of this woman anymore. Not the voice, not the smirk, not the hatred in her eyes. She wasn't Emily. Or maybe she always was. And I was just too blind to see. Then suddenly my phone buzzed in my pocket. Startled, I pulled it out and my heart nearly stopped. An unknown number. A text. She's not who you think. Leave now before it's too late. The officer saw the message over my shoulder. His face drained of color. Sir, we need to move right now. But before I could take a step, she lunged. Her hand gripped the officer's arm, trying to knock the weapon loose. The room exploded with motion, the three of us colliding in a violent struggle. The gun went off, the deafening shot shaking the walls. The lamp shattered. The smell of gunpowder burned my throat. And when the smoke cleared, she was still standing, smiling, untouched. The officer's hand shook violently as he aimed again, but his voice cracked now. Sir, he gasped. You don't understand. That's not your wife. That's something else entirely. My world spun. My chest heaved, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't sure if I was staring at the woman I married or a stranger wearing her skin. The ringing in my ears from the gunshot hadn't even faded when she turned those icy eyes back on me. The officer's hand trembled, sweat dripping down his temple, but she didn't look afraid. No, she looked satisfied, like she had been waiting for this exact moment. You still don't get it, do you, Mark? She hissed, brushing a lock of hair off her shoulder with deliberate calm. You think this is about love, about marriage, about loyalty. It's not. It's about survival. And you were never built for it. Her words sliced through me like jagged glass. I wanted to scream, to demand the truth, but my throat locked up. The woman I thought I loved, my wife Emily, was peeling back layers of lies, and every piece revealed someone I'd never known. The officer steadied his voice, trying to regain control. Ma'am, you need to get on the ground right now. She laughed. That mocking, venomous laugh. Do you really think you can stop what's already in motion? Derek warned me this would happen. He said the cops would eventually stumble onto us. But you? She tilted her head toward me, her smile dripping with cruelty. You were supposed to stay dumb, stay blind. But no, you had to keep asking questions, didn't you, Mark? I felt sick. My stomach twisted into knots while burning my throat. How long? I rasped. My voice cracked like it belonged to someone else. How long have you been lying to me? Her grin widened. Since the night I said I do. The air drained from my lungs. I staggered back like she'd punched me in the chest. My wedding day, the happiest day of my life, reduced to a performance in her eyes. I remembered her smile that day, how I thought it was love. But now, replaying it, I saw the truth. It was calculation. What? I whispered, gripping the dresser for balance. Her expression hardened, cruel but honest, because you were useful. You had the house, the money, the name. Derek had the power, the fire. Together, I had everything. And you? You were just the idiot holding the door open for me. The officer snapped, his patience gone. Enough on the ground. She didn't move. Instead, she reached for the nightstand drawer. My heart lurched. The officer reacted instantly, shoving me aside and grabbing her wrist before she could pull it open. They struggled, bodies slamming against the bed frame, the gun wavering dangerously close to her chest. In the chaos, something small flew out of the drawer, clattering across the hardwood floor. I dropped to my knees and grabbed it. A flash drive, black, unmarked, but heavy with secrets. She saw it in my hand, and for the first time her mask cracked. Her smile faltered and her eyes widened with fury. "Give that to me." I tightened my grip, clutching it like my life depended on it. "What the hell is on here?" The officer glanced at it, his face paling. "Sir, don't let her take it. That's evidence." "Evidence?" The word thundered in my head. Evidence of what? Of Derek? Of her affair? Of something darker? Her voice dropped to a growl. Low and dangerous. "Mark, I swear to God, if you don't give that to me, you won't live to see tomorrow." The threat didn't come from the woman I married. It came from a stranger. A monster. My hands shook, but I shoved the flash drive into my pocket. "Try me," I spat, my voice shaking with a mix of rage and terror. Her face twisted with pure hatred. In that moment, every lie she ever told me, every late-night meeting, every whispered phone call, it all burned away, leaving behind the truth. She never loved me. Not once. The officer shoved her back against the wall, but she didn't resist. Instead, she leaned close to his ear and whispered something that made his jaw tighten. He shoved her harder, pinning her in place. But the way his eyes flickered told me whatever she said rattled him to the core. I stumbled backward, my hand pressed against the lump of the flash drive in my pocket. My heart raced, my chest tight. I didn't know what was real anymore. My wife was supposed to be dead, yet she stood here alive, dripping venom, tied to another man named Derek. And now a flash drive sat in my pocket like a ticking bomb. She smirked again, despite the officer's grip on her. "It doesn't matter, Mark. You'll see soon enough. You'll finally understand why I chose him over you. Why you were always disposable." My vision blurred, rage boiling inside me. But beneath the fury was something worse. Fear. Fear that I just stepped into a game I didn't understand. One I wasn't sure I'd survive. And as the officer called for backup, his voice sharp into his radio, I realized one undeniable truth. My marriage had been nothing but a cover story. And the woman I thought I loved was my biggest enemy. Backup was on the way. The officer's radio crackling with clipped voices. But the room still felt like a war zone. I stood frozen, my hand locked over the flash drive in my pocket, the weight of it dragging me down like an anchor. She didn't struggle anymore. She didn't need to. She just smiled. That venomous little curve of her lips that said she was still in control. "You think that thing in your pocket makes you powerful?" She sneered. "It'll burn you alive before it saves you." I wanted to scream, to shake her until the lies spilled out, but the officer kept her pinned, his gun never lowering. His voice was tight, steady, only out of training. "Sir, you need to leave this room right now. Whatever you think you know, it's bigger than you. Get out while you still can." But I couldn't move. I was nailed to the floor, torn between fear and rage. Every memory of our marriage clawed its way to the surface. Emily telling me she was working late while I ate dinner alone. Emily locking herself in the bathroom with her phone. Emily brushing off my questions with a roll of her eyes and a bite of sarcasm. Now it all made sense. Every laugh, every excuse, every lie. She hadn't just been cheating. She'd been preparing me for this moment, softening me up so I wouldn't see the knife when she twisted it. The officer yanked her arms behind her back, trying to cuff her, but she moved too fast. She twisted her body, slammed her heel into his shin, and wrenched herself free with a speed that made no sense. He stumbled back, cursing, his gun wavering for a second. That was all she needed. She lunged at me. I barely had time to react before she was in my face, her fingers clawing at my pocket. I shoved her back, my hand clutching the flash drive like my life depended on it. Her nails scraped my arm, drawing blood, but I held on. The officer recovered, tackling her hard onto the bed. The frame cracked under the weight, the sound echoing through the house. "Drop it," the officer barked, forcing her wrist down. But her eyes locked on me, burning with hatred. "Mark, you think you've won something? Derek will get you for this. Do you hear me? He'll get you." The name hit me again like a hammer. Derek, the shadow in every lie. The ghost in every excuse. The man who wasn't me, but who had apparently been everything she wanted. I stumbled back into the hallway. My breathing ragged, my mind a whirlwind of betrayal and confusion. My phone buzzed again. Another message. This time it read, "Don't trust the cops. Don't trust her. Run." I felt like the walls were closing in. Who the hell sent that? Someone who knew Derek. Someone who knew me. My heart hammered in my chest as I stared down at the words, knowing that every choice I made now mattered. Behind me, the officer was fighting to restrain her. She thrashed, cursed, laughed. Her voice carried down the hall, shrill and poisonous. "You're weak, Mark. You always were. That's why I left you in the first place. That's why I crawled into Derek's bed. He made me feel alive while you made me feel dead. The words crushed me, each syllable carving another wound in my chest. I wanted to run, but I couldn't. Not yet. Not until I knew the truth. I bolted into my office, slammed the door, and locked it. My hands shook as I shoved the flash drive into my laptop. The screen blinked, loading files, dozens of them. Video clips, spreadsheets, folders labeled with names I didn't recognize. And then I saw it. One file stamped with my name, Mark Carter. My blood ran cold. I clicked it, my heart pounding against my ribs. The video opened. Grainy security footage. A hotel room. My wife, Emily, was in it, half-dressed, sitting on the bed. Beside her, a man I'd never seen before, tall, broad, his arms slung around her shoulders like she belonged to him. Derek, my lungs seized. I watched as she leaned into him, whispering something into his ear. The audio was muffled, but I caught fragments. Mark doesn't know. Soon it'll all be his fault. Then we'll be free. I slammed the laptop shut while rising in my throat. My wife hadn't just betrayed me. She and Derek had been planning something against me. The pounding on my office door snapped me back. Mark, the officer yelled. Open the door. She's under control for now, but we need to move. But then another voice hissed through the wood, dripping like poison. Hers. Don't listen to him, Mark. You're smarter than that. Bring me the drive and maybe, just maybe, I'll let you live. My hand shook on the keyboard. I was trapped between a cop I didn't trust, a wife who wanted me destroyed, and a stranger named Derek pulling strings I couldn't see. And deep down I knew one thing. Whatever truth was on that flash drive was the reason she had lied to me from the very beginning. The door shook under their voices, his pounding fists and her poisonous whispering blending together until I couldn't tell which was more dangerous. My body shook as much as my hands, sweat dripping down my back. The flash drive was still warm in my pocket like it had its own pulse, daring me to open it again, daring me to find the truth. I wasn't sure I could survive. I shoved the laptop back open. My fingers flew, clicking through more files. Each one was worse than the last. Names, bank accounts, wire transfers. My company's name appeared over and over, attached to payments I never authorized. Millions moving offshore. It hit me like a freight train. They weren't just cheating on me. They were setting me up. I found another video. My wife, Emily, sat across a table in some dimly lit room, Derek beside her, his hand resting on hers like they were already married. She leaned forward, her voice crisp this time, clear enough for me to hear every word. Mark will take the fall. He's too blind to see what's happening until it's too late. Once the accounts transferred, Derek and I are gone. I slammed my fist against the desk, the rage boiling so hard I thought I'd explode. My whole life, my marriage, my business, my future, reduced to a goddamn con. And she'd been smiling at me through it all, crawling into my bed while planning to ruin me. The pounding at the door grew louder. Mark, the officer barked again. We need to go. Backup's downstairs. You're not safe here. But her voice slithered through the crack in the door. Sickly sweet. Don't believe him. You think they're here to save you? No, Mark. They're here to bury you. Open that door, hand me the drive, and we can still fix this. I'll explain everything to Derek. He doesn't have to hurt you. I gritted my teeth, rage snapping every nerve. Hurt me? You've already destroyed me? Silence fell for a moment and then her laugh broke through, sharp, cruel, like a knife scraping glass. Destroyed you? Oh, Mark, you haven't even seen the beginning. Something slammed hard against the door, jolting the frame. The officer cursed, shouting for backup. I jumped back from the desk, my breath ragged, my chest about to burst. My phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. Leave now. Through the window. Trust no one. Derek knows where you are. I staggered toward the window, yanked it open, and cold night air rushed against my face. My yard stretched out, quiet, deceptively safe. I hesitated, torn in half. Run and maybe live, or stay and demand answers from the woman who just set my entire life on fire. Another crash rattled the door. This time it cracked at the hinges. She was stronger than she should have been. Or maybe pure hatred fueled her. The officer was shouting, trying to hold her back, but I heard him strain like she was slipping free. I clutched the flash drive so hard it bit into my palm. My whole world had collapsed into this moment. My wife a stranger. My life a target. My trust shattered. Mark. She shrieked, her voice twisting with fury. If you jump out that window, you'll never know the whole truth. Derek will make sure of it. He'll erase you like you never existed. Her words struck me harder than her lies ever had. Because part of me believed her. Derek wasn't just a name anymore. He was the shadow of something massive, something lethal. The door finally split open. The officer stumbled through with her locked in his arms, her face wild, hair tangled, eyes burning. Even pinned, she looked victorious. "Run!" he roared at me, his voice breaking with urgency. And I did. I launched myself out the window into the cold night, hitting the ground hard enough to knock the breath out of me. Grass scratched my arms. My knees buckled, but I pushed myself up, adrenaline blazing through my veins. Behind me, I heard her screaming my name, screaming like she wasn't done yet, like she'd hunt me until the world ended. I ran across the yard, my lungs on fire, gripping the flash drive like my last piece of life. But one thought tore at me as I fled into the dark. My wife hadn't just cheated on me. She'd built an entire world on my name, and Derek was waiting in the shadows to finish the job. The night swallowed me whole as I sprinted across the yard, every breath ripping through my chest like broken glass. I didn't dare look back, not with her voice still echoing through the house, shrill and furious. I cut through the side gate, stumbled onto the street, and nearly collapsed under the weight of what I just seen. My wife, the woman I thought I knew better than myself, wasn't just a liar. She was planning to erase me. I ducked behind a parked SUV, sucking in air, my mind spinning. The flash drive dug into my pocket, its presence unbearable, like it was glowing hot with the truth I wasn't ready to face. My phone buzzed again. The same unknown number. 2 blocks east. Black sedan. Get in. Hurry. I froze, sweat dripping down my temple. Was this Derek? Was I running straight into his hands? Or was this the same ghost who'd been warning me all night? I didn't have time to think. Another sound cut through the night. The crunch of footsteps. Fast, deliberate. I peeked around the SUV. 2 men in dark jackets were moving down the street, scanning the yards like hounds on a leash. They weren't cops. Their movements were too sharp, too practiced. My pulse roared in my ears. I bolted down the sidewalk, my sneakers slamming the pavement. The men shouted, and suddenly I wasn't imagining it. They were after me. One of them pulled something from his belt, the metallic click unmistakable. A gun. I swerved into an alley, nearly losing my balance. Trash cans toppled behind me, slowing them down for a moment, but I knew they'd catch up. My only hope was the black sedan. If it was a trap, I'd deal with it. If it wasn't, it was my only chance. I found it parked under a broken street light. Engine idling. My chest heaved as I hesitated, staring at the tinted windows. The back door popped open. A voice, low and urgent, called out, "Get in, Mark." Now. I didn't think. I dove inside. The door slammed shut and the car peeled off. My stomach lurched as I twisted to face the driver. He was in his 40s. Sharp jaw, short-cropped hair, a face I'd never seen. "Who the hell are you?" I demanded, my voice raw. He glanced at me in the mirror, eyes hard. "Name's Ryan. No time for details. What matters is that your wife isn't who you think she is, and Derek isn't just some lover. They're running an operation. And you?" His eyes flicked to my pocket. "You just stole the only piece that proves it." My throat tightened. "How do you know all this?" "Because I've been watching them for months," he said. "And now that you've got that drive, you're target number 1. Derek won't stop until he has it back." I pressed my palm against the flash drive through my jeans. My head pounding. "What's on it?" Ryan's jaw clenched. "Everything. Money laundering, blackmail, identities. They used your name as the fall guy. The car crashed tonight. That was the cover story. You were supposed to find out Emily was dead, grieve, and then get buried under the weight of charges tied to your accounts." The words crushed me like bricks. It made sense. Too much sense. Every odd glance, every late night, every cold smile from Emily. It wasn't just infidelity. It was strategy. I leaned back, my chest heaving while burning in my throat. "So she married me just to use me." Ryan nodded once. "And now she knows you've got the proof. Which means Derek's men won't stop hunting you. They'll burn the whole city down if they have to." I felt hollow, gutted from the inside out. The woman I gave my life to, the woman I defended even when my gut screamed something was wrong, she was laughing behind my back with another man while they planned to ruin me. Ryan turned sharply, cutting through side streets. Headlights flashed behind us, 2 cars closing in. He cursed under his breath. "They found us." I twisted in my seat, adrenaline surging again. The black SUVs were gaining fast, their engines growling through the night. My heart slammed against my ribs as Ryan yanked the wheel, throwing us down a narrow alley. Gunshots cracked. The back window shattered, glass raining down around me. I ducked, clutching the flash drive like it was the only thing tethering me to survival. Ryan's voice cut through the chaos. "Mark, listen to me. Whatever you feel for her, whatever you thought you had, it's over. She's not your wife anymore. She's Derek's soldier. And if you don't let go of her now, you won't make it through the night. The truth sank in deeper than the bullets. Emily wasn't just a cheater. She was a traitor, and I was nothing more than the fool she sacrificed to climb into another man's bed and his empire. The alley narrowed into nothing but brick walls and Ryan slammed the brakes. Tires screeched, smoke curling into the night. The SUVs blocked both exits. Doors opened. Men in black spilled out like shadows with guns glinting under the street light. My chest caved in, panic tearing through me, but Ryan stayed calm, his hand steady on his weapon. "Stay down," he barked. Bullets tore through the air. Sparks flew as metal shredded around us. Ryan fired back, shattering one SUV's headlights, but there were too many of them. I clutched the flash drive in my fist, my mind screaming, this was it. Emily's lies had dragged me straight into hell. One of the men shouted, his voice sharp, commanding, "Hand over the drive, Mark, and maybe you walk away." The sound of my name froze me. They knew exactly who I was, what I had. My throat locked. I thought of Emily. Her smirk, her venom, her laugh when she admitted Derek made her feel alive. She hadn't just betrayed me. She'd handed me over to these jackals. Ryan growled, "Don't listen. They'll kill you the second you give it up." The men advanced, closing in. My pulse hammered so hard it blurred my vision, and then headlights. From the other end of the alley, another car roared in. For one split second I thought it was more of Derek's men. But then I saw her. Emily. She stepped out of the passenger side, calm, elegant, as if bullets weren't flying. She wore that same cruel smile, her hair flowing like she just walked out of a photo shoot, not a war zone. "Mark," she called, her voice sharp but almost tender. "Baby, give me the drive. Let me fix this. You don't have to die here." My blood boiled, rage flooding me hotter than fear. "You want me dead, Emily? You and Derek planned this from the start. Don't you dare act like you care." Her smirk widened. "Oh, I never cared. But you're stubborn and Derek hates loose ends. Hand it over and I'll make sure it's quick." Every illusion shattered in that moment. The woman I married, the woman I loved, wasn't standing there. What stood there was my executioner wrapped in the skin of my wife. Ryan fired, forcing the men to duck behind the SUVs. He grabbed my arm. "Run now or die here." But I didn't move. I stepped forward, flash drive in hand. My voice shaking, but loud enough for her to hear. "You took my marriage, my money, my life. But you don't get this." Emily's smile cracked. "Mark, don't." I hurled the flash drive into the air with all my strength. For one instant, every head turned upward, eyes tracking it like prey. Ryan seized the chance. He fired again, then yanked me toward the wall. "Climb," he shouted. We scrambled up the fire escape as chaos erupted below. Shouts. Gunfire. Emily's furious scream tearing through the alley. "You're finished, Mark. Derek will gut you alive." We reached the rooftop. Lungs burning, legs screaming. Ryan didn't slow down. "We keep moving. They'll scour this city for you. But you've got one thing they don't anymore. Choice. You can disappear or you can fight." I collapsed against the wall, staring at the skyline. The chaos below. The woman who used to be my world now hunting me like prey. My chest ached. My hands shook, but the clarity burned through. Emily was gone. The woman I married never existed. She was a mask Derek wore through her, and I had been the perfect fool. Ryan crouched beside me. "So, what's it going to be, Mark? Run forever or make them pay?" I wiped the blood from my arm, my eyes narrowing. I thought of her laughter, her venom, the way she looked at me like I was nothing. And for the first time, the pain shifted into something harder, colder. "They took my life," I said, my voice low, steady. "I'll take theirs." The night swallowed my words, but I meant everyone. My wife hadn't just cheated. She'd betrayed me on every level a man can be betrayed. But she made one mistake. She left me alive. And now I wasn't just a husband mourning the ruins of his marriage. I was a man with nothing left to lose. And that made me the most dangerous man of all.